Welcome back to College Conversations. I'm Dr. Fedor, and I help you navigate college. Please remember to hit subscribe and share this video with other students who also might find it helpful. Today, I have with me Ryan Stelzer, co-founder of Strategy of Mind and co-author of Think, Talk, Create.
Hi, Janice. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me. Ryan, I wanted to talk to you about how students can use college as sort of a time to expose themselves to different choice-making frameworks in regards to ethics and maybe just in regards to life in general.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one that we see all the time. It's one that I experience personally. I know that a lot of students, I'm sure, as they head back onto campus or maybe onto campus for the first time this fall, will start to experience this idea of frameworks. Really, where it started and what it came from. There's a passage in our book where we talk about there's this sort of miraculous moment where the University of Chicago at graduation, which is where I went to graduate school, they have this sort of funny phrase that they say. And the president of the university will always, in some way, shape, or form, say, "May you use your degree for the betterment of humanity." And they say that to the MFA students, and then they say that to the bachelor students, and they say that to the science students, and then inevitably we get to the business students, and they have the bachelors of business or the MBA students, and the president will say, "And may you use your degree for the betterment of humanity." And every single time the president says that, there's always this subtle chuckle that like just sort of
Right.
resonates across the audience. And
Sure.
so that was really where this first came from.
And then they cut to some movie excerpts of Wall Street or
Yeah.
something like that shows them not using their degree for the betterment. So how can we look at college as a time to sort of practice our ethics?
One of the ways in which we tackled this, and when we were working on our book, we interviewed a number of deans at various MBA programs and business departments across the country. And we talked to them about how they viewed an MBA program in the context of ethical education. How do they view business education? How should students be educated? And the best answer that we got was actually from the dean at Duke. And he said that college was more or less a time to provide students with a framework for making choices. So it shouldn't be the expectation that the university is going to teach the students, here is how to behave ethically. It's, we're going to give you a set of possible ethical parameters that in which you can live your life, and it's up to you to navigate that path accordingly. So, in other words, they're doing, and what I agree with, is that students have tremendous agency. They're responsible for making ethical choices in their professional lives. And that starts at the college level. That starts when you're sitting there in classes and you're paying attention, hopefully, to your
Right.
lectures. And you learn this framework for making good decisions.
So how many frameworks like that are out there? Or is that a whole topic for a different book?
There is no limit. There's an infinite number of possible worlds that contain an infinite number of possible frameworks. And the idea, I think, about college too is you want to expose yourself to as many of those as possible. So it's not limiting yourself to maybe one class on business ethics, or it's not limiting yourself only to one philosophy class, even as a particular thinker, or maybe in a particular era of time. It's all about exposing yourself to as many possible ideas as you can. And from those, you piece together your own ethical framework.
Do you agree that it's the colleges or the professors' responsibility to teach the frameworks about ethics?
I passionately believe that education is something whereby a student is led along a path by candlelight, and they have to figure out the sort of the road ahead themselves. The professor's there as a guide. They're not there to tell the student, here's how it ought to be. And the professor is just that's the Socratic method is. They're asking questions to unlock the student's mind. And I think as a student, you have to be open and comfortable with the idea that it's okay to challenge what your professor's saying. It's okay to challenge the status quo. It's okay to challenge these thinkers that have existed for hundreds of years that we read today still and say, well, I don't think that they're right. And that's fine. That's part of a college experience.
I've always thought that college is such a luxury of time where it's okay to sit and think and disagree and talk about things, because really, when else do you have that time with other people, coming together to discuss things and so forth? It's really a luxury, if you're not busy doing something else, that, oh, wait a minute, let's sit and talk about this for a while, and hear what everybody else has to say, and also have everybody else's perspective. When else are you going to have so many different perspectives of people all coming together in one college classroom? That usually a lot of times doesn't happen in the workplace and doesn't happen in your family or neighborhood, because you tend to be people who are like you, and they think like you a lot of times. So in your mind, should all students take at least one philosophy course?
Well, I'm biased as a
You're
philosophy
right, sure.
major, but yes, I
Yeah.
think you should take as many courses as you possibly can. So, if you go to a school, not all schools allow this.
Right.
Some are more interdisciplinary than others, but if you go
Right.
to a school that allows you to take classes across a wide section of, range of subjects, do it. I mean, I remember I went to sort of a mentor of mine in college, and I was deciding between two different study abroad programs. I was trying to figure out
Okay.
whether I go here or go there,
Yeah.
and I pitched him both programs, and he thought about it for a second. He said, "Can you do both?" The financial
Yeah.
reality was that I could not, but it was
Yeah.
just that I understood his point. What he was saying was, try to you have the
Right.
opportunity. When else are you going to get the opportunity to go live here and go do this and move? So take advantage of it.
Ryan, any last advice for college students looking to hone their ethical skills during the college time?
Yeah, I think, well, I go back to back to my time, for example, as I was telling you at Chicago at graduation. Chicago has this wonderful tradition where they don't have that celebrity graduation speaker. They bring in a guest speaker. They bring in a guest speaker who is actually oftentimes a faculty member from campus.
Mhm.
And so it's not a big name. It's one of the professors that you probably had. It's that kind of
Mhm.
guest speaker. And so one year they had Marianne Bertrand, who's a professor at the business school, and she used her speech to remind students that it was up to them to make good decisions. And if they saw something that was unethical in their professional lives, that hopefully their education prepared them to, quote, vote with their feet. And what that meant is they could select where they work. They could select the work that they're doing, who they worked
Right.
with and who they worked alongside. And I think that voting with your feet is a concept that doesn't just apply when you're outside of college. It actually applies when you're in college, when you're sitting there in the shopping period trying to decide which courses to take,
Right.
or you're trying to figure out what major, or what am I going to do this semester, that semester. Vote with your feet, and you have the ability to expose yourself to as many possible ideas as you can. And I think you have the responsibility to do that.
And I think your point about college students have agency in what they do is something that time period is also about, them learning their agency in the world. Please
Exactly.
remember to hit like and subscribe and share this video with other students who might find it helpful. And remember to keep learning.